when you were, working a job right out of high school and not initially getting, a lot of attention from college teams. I mean, if someone had told you then that you'd be a Pro Football Hall of Famer someday, what would you have said to them?
I would have had a chuckle. I'll give you that much because, here I was a guy never even recruited out of high school, and, barely played my high school year. I only played my senior year and then waited out and actually played semi-pro, So at that time, if somebody had said to me, like, I'm driving a tractor trailer and I'm saying, yeah, you're going to be a pro football player, I'm like, that would have been a chuckle. It would have been.
Well, and I heard that while you're playing semi-pro, you maintained your eligibility to play in college by using an alias. Now, is that just a long, a tale, or is that actually true?
No, that's true. It was rather humorous because one of the guys who actually owned the team was heads up to say, like, Joe, listen, just in case, there is an eligibility program problem. And there really wasn't, because what it was if I ever got paid, then I wouldn't have been able to play. But I never got paid. But he said, you should still use an alias, and go ahead and play. So we picked a really good alias, Jim Jones from Poland University. So, it kind of stood out that it was an alias.
Perfect, perfect. And yeah, I guess you can say you played at Poland University and Temple. You played everywhere. But obviously, you're sixth round pick by the Jets in the NFL draft. But then, when you got to New York, I mean, you dominated, and you were part of, a defensive line that was one of the best in NFL history. And in 1981. The Jets defensive line, they were called the New York Sack Exchange. They combined for 66 sacks that year, including 20 and a half by you. And I mean, what was it like, playing at such a high level alongside other guys who play at such a high level as well? I mean, did like half the quarterbacks in the NFL want to retire when you guys were playing?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I believe that we did poke a little bit of fear into them. I remember there was a gentleman, I don't remember his name. His first name was Jim, and he was our linebacker coach that came from Cincinnati. And at that time, Cincinnati had a real good offensive line. It was Anthony Munoz and Dave Lapham, and I think Dave Remington was there. They were really good, big guys. And, we had given the ball up on a turnover, and it was on a short yardage side of the field. And the coach said, he goes, oh, my God. He goes, what's going to happen? And really smartly, I said, stay right here. I'll be right back. And we went on the field, and the first play, we stopped the run dead for like a yard or two maybe. Second play was a passing down. I sacked Kenny Anderson. And then the third down was Mark Gastineau sacked Kenny Anderson. And it wound up being 4th and 15. So I came to the sideline and I said to them, "How was that?" So, yeah, they worried about us.
Obviously, towards the end of your career, the last season you played with the Jets, you were limited to 7 games due to an injury. Then you played your final season in the NFL with the Colts before retiring. I've talked to a lot of athletes who have talked about how humbling it is when they have to move on from the game. And for you, after the way you dominated the NFL, then, dealing with some injuries at the end of your career and retiring, I mean, was that a challenge mentally?
No. Reason, I left the Jets in a really bad situation because of the head coach. And that made a sour taste in my mouth. But, I was going to move on because I didn't get along with the guy at all, Joe Walton. And when I moved to the Colts, though, I got along wrong with everybody there because we played them every year also, and it was enjoyable. But, when you leave a team and you leave your brotherhood, more or less, like the guys you grew up with and you came along with, when I was out there, my family wasn't with me because my kids had started school and we didn't want to keep pulling them in and out of school. So my wife would come on the weekend with the kids and visit and stuff, so that was not enjoyable either, so it was enough for me to retire at that time.